Welcome to the Wellbeing Room. I'm super excited today to have Madison Kalleske here with me. Madi is a personal trainer and fitness professional based in the Barossa Valley in South Australia. I've been a client of hers for a while now, I think about 8 years or so, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. But she's also one of my yoga clients, and I've been enjoying working with her over the last 8 months as she's been growing a baby. I thought it would be a great opportunity to get Madi in the wellbeing room to chat about health and fitness and hear a bit about her pregnancy journey. I'm really looking forward to learning what she's been doing to look after herself and maybe glean some tips that she has for women who want to improve their health and fitness before pregnancy and how to manage their fitness during their pregnancy. I'm sure she also has some interesting facts that she's learnt along the way that will make this a very interesting discussion. So welcome, Madi, to the Wellbeing Room.
Thank you, Leah. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good to be here with you today. So I think we'll just dive right in if that's okay.
Yeah. Go for it.
Excellent. So, like the intro alluded, we're going to talk a lot about pregnancies, which is cool. So I hope you're okay with that. But I know you love kids.
Absolutely.
And so I'm curious about when it came to deciding to have children of your own, what's been your guiding philosophy about approaching pregnancy and giving birth to your baby?
Beautiful. Love that question. Yep. So I think it's one of those things I have, always loved kids ever since I was a kid, always really super interactive with babies. And it's just something that seemed like the next natural progression in the relationship that Bo and I have. We were both super keen to have kids and start a new journey as a family. But something that we both really held of importance was our preconception journey. So this was obviously starting to talk about having kids and what we wanted to look like as parents, what we want our family to look like, and moving forward with that kind of idea, then having, a really healthy relationship in that regard, and then really focusing in on ourselves and how we could be as healthy as possible, like physically, mentally, emotionally, and what were the steps that we took and what did that look like for us to feel like we were in that kind of position. So we both went and had blood tests, and we had looked at our iron. Bo had a sperm count done. I just had like a full bloods with a big focus on, I did it on day or after ovulation, actually, was when I did my first blood test, just to make sure that I was ovulating when I was ovulating during my cycle and what did that look like. And then, iron, good stores of iron, good, all of your vitamins and minerals, and then also getting my thyroid tested as well to make sure that I wasn't under like any not conscious stress, but mainly subconscious stress for my body. And then we both sought out the help of a naturopath and chatted to her about how we could incorporate different foods into our diet and what that looked like based on our blood test results.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that's very thorough. I'm impressed.
Mm.
I wouldn't
I
expect
think
anything less from you, really.
yes, true. I'm definitely a very type A kind of personality and tick all the boxes before you do anything and know
Yeah.
exactly what you're getting yourself into. But that was really helpful and a really nice insight into potentially like what we could do better, and then, implementing small changes. It wasn't a lot. Like I think we did a couple of like breathing, like yoga nidra kind of sessions guided through Spotify, which was just really calming and helpful, really getting like nice restful sleep. And just not really putting too much pressure on ourselves. We were just like, all right, let's just, we'll start trying, we'll give it a go. Let's really focus on how our health is going to affect the health of my pregnancy, but then also the health of our future babies. So that
Yeah.
was a massive indicator in really trying to get both of us as healthy as we could be. And obviously then the longevity of that is you see that your kids are healthier and happier and thriving.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Yeah, definitely the health of the parents has a massive effect on the health of the children. I know it's that basically from a traditional medicine perspective, the constitution of the child comes from the parents, you know, and that's passed down from generation to generation. So anything you can do to enhance that prior to conception is, you know, going to give your child a much better chance of, you know, thriving in life. Absolutely. So well done.
Massively so. And I think one of the big things I had heard, it was that really like brought it home to me. It was like, all right, like if you like you're a female, you've got a mum, you came from your mum came from your grandma, but at one point your grandma was literally carrying you as an egg inside of her when she had, like, because you're born with all of your eggs. So it was just, I was like, whoa, like, you know, the significant impact of war and malnourishment from previous generations obviously then affects me. If I can make such a conscious effort to have that influence on my children, but also my children's children potentially, if they have kids, what a blessing it is for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's a lot of talk about that intergenerational trauma that we carry as a result of our, you know, previous generations. So yeah, anything you can do to improve that in the long term. Oh, good stuff. Now, thank you for sharing that. That was quite a lot of detail, so I appreciate that.
It was.
Yeah. So moving on, I do want to be clear that you're not a medical doctor. So any advice or thoughts that you share is, you know, not obviously, you know, medically approved necessarily, but you have a lot of experience with working with women from a health and fitness perspective. So from that lens, is there something you'd recommend women, I mean, apart from what you just mentioned, maybe to improve their chances of conceiving and having a healthy pregnancy, like maybe from more of a fitness lens, perhaps?
Yeah, massively. So in my opinion, obviously, if you're in optimal health, that's not just like physically what's going on in the inside. Obviously, it's mentally, emotionally as well. But the physical side of being strong and fit and like cardiovascularly fit before falling pregnant and then during pregnancy, it seems to just make, or in my own experience and in my clients' experiences, seems to help them like get pregnant quicker. They have a much cruisier kind of first trimester. They're generally not as sick potentially. And just the load, like the changes that your body goes through, it's such a load on your muscles, your ligaments, your tendons, everything. But, you know, if you start off with a really strong base of like a really strong core, really strong glutes, you're going to find that the rest of your pregnancy, as your body or as your baby grows and your body changes, you will notice less and less desirable outcomes. So, you know, no minimal backache, minimal pelvic girdle pain, like minimal swelling in your ankles and your extremities and your fingers and your toes. If you can stay active, it's just such a blessing. And that starts with a really strong base of support through your core and your glutes.
Yeah, no, great. Thank you.
And you think about the more energy you put into those areas, like specifically core, glutes, hips, that means that there's more blood flow going to those areas. More blood flow means more blood flow to your reproductive organs as well. And it's like such your body's natural mechanism to want to protect the reproductive organs.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense that you would want to physically have more muscle mass around those areas so that you are also then protecting it.
Yeah, exactly. And plus a strong core will also help with the birthing process as well. And support the baby as it's growing, but also help with that contractive process of delivering the baby, you know.
Yeah. And not only that, then it's also the whole, you know, pain for an outcome kind of experience as well. It's, you're not going out and thrashing yourself for no reason. Like, you've obviously got to be smart about it, but you know that that muscle soreness means that you're getting stronger, you're creating more lean muscle mass, very similar to a contraction in that, like, yes, it's pain, but you're actually getting a benefit out of it at the end. It's not just like a broken bone or anything like that. You are getting a benefit from that pain. And I think a lot of people who regularly strength train and, you know, undergo some form of strength program, running program, etc., that they have a very high pain tolerance as well. And so that can only help you going into birth as well.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'll be interested to get your thoughts after.
Yes.
This is your first time. No, but that's some great points that you've raised. You can only speculate, and from, you know, what you've learned from other people. But yeah, I mean, your own experience is the best teacher. So yeah, I'll definitely be keen to mine some of your thoughts down the track.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see. I might
Yeah.
look back on myself, my past self, and be like, "You're an idiot."
Anyway, so moving on, what has been the most interesting thing you've learned about yourself and your body so far during your pregnancy?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Yeah, I love these probing questions.
Interesting about myself and my body. I would say that it has definitely pregnancy has definitely helped me be more aware of listening to my body and knowing when to rest and when I feel capable of movement. Whereas something beforehand, I was very much like a go, 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 tick this box, tick this box. Oh, I'm a bit tired. It's all right. I can push through it. I'll tick this box. I'll tick this box. Whereas
Mm,
I think during pregnancy, it really forces you, like, there is that really like almost bone deep kind of tiredness. And
mm,
it's like, well, why would I want to push through that when it's clearly my own body, my baby telling me, oh, look, I think you need to rest. And that's something that I have really taken on board in, changing my workouts a little bit and scaling back the weight and allowing my body that time to not so much rest, but really be mindful and connect with my movement
mm,
so that I'm like, okay, what benefit does this serve me? Is this going to help me through my pregnancy? Is this movement going to help me through my labor? Is this movement going to help me through my postpartum? What does this look like? Like, what are movements that I think I'm going to be doing
mm,
more often than I'm not, rather than just going, all right, like I've got deadlifts on the menu today, tick. I've got squats on the menu today, tick. And really just kind of going through those motions, but more so really trying to go, all right, what's something that I can picture myself doing? All right, well, I want to be able to stand up unassisted, and
mm,
that potentially is holding a baby in my hands. Okay, let's really think about this. What are the correct ways I can go about it? And really trying to build that deep strength so
mm.
that when the time comes, it's almost, it's don't even have to think about it. It's completely
Yeah.
subconscious movement.
Mm,
And yeah, I think that's been a really beneficial time to put what I know as a fitness professional into practice. So it's one
yeah.
thing for me to tell someone to do it, but it's
Yeah.
a whole nother thing for me to experience it myself and then be able to go, okay, these are movements I found really beneficial because I
Mm,
want to be seeing myself do XYZ post birth, during pregnancy, in the birth. So no,
yeah.
it's been really, really interesting to kind of deep dive into that.
Yeah. Some great insights there. So, can you give an example of some of the specific exercises, or like, are you still training now? You're like 36 weeks
Yeah,
in. How often and how regularly?
37.
Okay.
So I do yoga with you once a week.
Yeah.
I've been doing Pilates once a week. With the Pilates, we've been really focusing on the contraction and relaxation, really the relaxation of the pelvic floor, because you don't want to have a super tight pelvic floor,
Mm,
because you want to have the ability to be able to relax so that your contractions, you can push the baby out. So lengthening the pelvic floor, lengthening through our leg muscles, and trying to really focus on like our deep diaphragmatic breathing. That's been a real big focus for Pilates. So I've been doing that once a week. I've been trying to walk every day. Obviously, really helpful to have a dog that forces you to go for a walk every day. Um, and just, yeah, getting that blood flowing, getting the heart pumping. Something that I had I knew that it would happen, but I had no idea that it would happen so quickly, in
mm,
how fast your heart rate changes from rest. Like my resting heart rate's really about the same still. But
mm,
as soon as I start walking, like cardiovascular exercise, it goes through the roof. So
yeah.
that's something that I know has been super beneficial, obviously, for heart health and respiratory health.
Mm,
And then I have been strength training twice a week still.
mm-hmm,
And that has gone from probably pre-pregnancy to about the 20-week mark. I'd say it was around about 60 minutes each
mm-hmm,
time,
mm,
lots of rest. I hadn't had to change or modify a lot of my exercises, because the preconception kind of stuff I was doing anyway was a big focus on core, glute, remaining quite strong through my middle back, so that when I'm having to hold a baby, I'm
mm,
not forcing myself into a really rounded position as well. I've
yeah.
got that strength there already. But from about 20 weeks onwards, I started to scale back my weight. So probably doing about 50% of my 1 rep max in most of my lifts, and just really trying to obviously listen. Like if I felt sore for more than a day afterwards, I would scale it back again the next week.
Yeah.
And then really focusing in on, as a warm up, a lot of optimal maternal positioning. So going through your deep lunges, your deep squats, lengthening through your psoas, so a nice big opening hip stretch, a jaw release, some neck rolls. All of this stuff's available on the internet to find as well, just with Googling optimal maternal positioning, but super easy to do. There's some forward inversions, there's like correct seating and hip rolls on a fitball, et cetera, really trying to get myself more aware of this tiny little baby I was growing inside of me at the time. I was like, yeah, let's really focus in on this. Let's create some really good habits and help my body be able to help my baby get into the best position it can be come birth. So that was something that I found really beneficial as well. And to be able to implement that strength around that, I have found, it's been amazing for my body. It's loved it.
Yeah, great. Jeez, your baby's very lucky. Someone so dedicated to their fitness and health. It's a great example that you're setting for other women as well, your clients and other people in the community who aspire to, you know, have a healthy pregnancy and birth. I think your experience, you know, when you come back after, whenever you're ready to, you know, start working again, you'll have such a great experience to share and guide other people through. I think, you know, that's great. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. I've got a few more questions. So this is something we had a little chat a few weeks ago about doctors and things. So I just want to ask this: what advice would you give women when it comes to choosing a doctor or a midwife for their pregnancy? What red flags should women be aware of?
Okay. So I think the one really super beneficial thing when choosing is someone who you can have a really comfortable and relaxed conversation with, like this conversation. It's not frigid, it's not awkward. You both have mutual respect for one another and you're willing to listen to pretty much anything they've got to say. That's, I think, the biggest key factor in when choosing someone or choosing a provider. I think your big red flags, easily someone who straight out disagrees with you and they're not willing to see your side of the story or hear your experience and then say, all right, like Leah, I've listened to this, and I think that, you know, based on this study and based on this study, this is the kind of information that I can give to you. So I think, you've got to have someone who obviously is very respectful of you and you're respectful of them. So if they're not respecting of you and your opinion, then that is a huge red flag. I also think the time that they're willing to give you. So if you're just another number, then how do you expect to be treated any different when it comes to birth? You know, and I think that also then comes back to the respect. Like, I'm respecting you as a client to be on time, to give you the 20 to 30 to 40 minutes of your appointment time. I'm respecting you to have that, like, I want to respect you. I'm going to give you that time that you're paying for and that you're expecting of me. And that is a really big one. And I think especially in the Barossa, and I'm just obviously talking from my own experience, it's something that can be really hard. Like, our healthcare system and our medical professionals seem to always be under the pump and wanting to push.
Yeah.
But it's so fantastic that when you do find someone who's like, oh, nope, like, you've got your full 40 minutes in here, let's have a chat, really warm, welcoming energy and super respectful of your opinion, it just makes such a massive difference. I also think a red flag is it's medical professionals obviously know a lot more than I do, and that's a given. They've studied for so many years, and I've really skimmed the absolute surface of being pregnant, pregnancy, postpartum. But scare tactics and trying to use fear as a way to coerce you into what they want you to do. I just think it's so wrong. And, you know, talking about like triggering things like stillbirth and cord presentation, like babies having cords wrapped around their neck and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, like if you're going overdue, you're putting yourself at a 2% higher risk of this. And if you don't have this test, you have this risk of da 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 da, and this percentage of the risk. But and I understand I have to tell you those things, but what they're not actually telling you with the percentage is actually what your odds are. So it's something ridiculous. Like, I know you go from, if you're pre-date, so 37 to 40 weeks of gestation and you have your baby, the stillbirth rate is something, I don't know, like 2%. But then if you go post dates, it creeps up to 4% and then to 6%. But what does that percentage actually look like in odds? It's like 1 in 100,000.
Yeah.
So I get that you're increasing your risk, but what is the actual odds of this happening to me? And I get that you have to tell me this, but I don't know. It really irks me when people try to scare you into things that you're not comfortable in doing.
Yeah. And it's hard because a lot of women, especially when they're in this stage, they're quite vulnerable. You know, they want the best for their baby and themselves. You know, they want to have a healthy, you know, have a good birth. And yeah, so those numbers can really trigger people into thinking, oh, yeah, I need to be induced, or I need to have a cesarean, or these types of things. And yeah, losing the confidence in themselves and their body's inherent ability to, you know, have a birth, a natural birth. But then, yeah, I guess it also comes down to, like we were talking earlier today on our walk, was about, you know, your own, what you come with to this pregnancy. Like you said, you've done all this testing and you were fit and strong and healthy. So the chances then of you perhaps falling into that percentage is probably a lot less than someone, say, who is, you know, overweight, who doesn't exercise and is struggling with health issues prior to becoming pregnant. So there's lots of different factors at play. So yeah, but I'm glad you raised that as a red flag, though. That's important. So that fear thing, because I think that's a big issue in our society in general. Like, people are scared of childbirth.
And I think also the hardest thing that I suppose I haven't necessarily found, but I know even just talking to other women, it's actually being able to advocate for yourself and having the confidence in your body. Like, we are designed to birth humans. There's like, that's what the female body does. It's absolutely amazing. We grow these little things from absolute minuscule nothingness to an entire human being with functioning organs. To know that and trust that in your own self so completely makes a massive difference in, then I think, the rest, well, like the rest of your pregnancy, B, the rest of your life. Like, I have the deep confidence in that I know instinctually what is best for me and what I'm capable of doing. And if you don't have that, then you can definitely be coerced and fear mongered into doing things that you don't necessarily want to do because you can't advocate for yourself. But then that's when you need someone else to be doing that for you. And whether that's a partner, your family, or your friends, or an external midwife or a doula, it definitely says something about, you need someone, or you need to be able to do that for yourself.
Yeah, that whole advocacy piece is really important. And yeah, I think a lot of women, especially people in general, just, you know, when it comes to doctors, doctors are sitting on this pedestal, and, you know, rightly so. They've done a lot of study, they've got a lot of experience, but they're just humans as well, you know, so you've got to meet them on a level playing field.
And they come to, like, and this is obstetricians as well, like, you know, they obviously see the worst of the worst, and they see things, the best of the best as well. But no matter what, when they come to you as a pregnant woman, they're coming with their own preconceived ideas too. Like, they may have just witnessed someone have a stillbirth. They may have just witnessed an amazing cesarean. They may have just witnessed an amazing natural birth or a VBAC or anything. But they're already coming to you with their own idea of what they think and their past experiences that they then project onto you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. That's really great. I love that you're such a strong advocate for yourself, and it's a great example for other people, other women to take control of their own pregnancy and stand up for themselves as well.
Mm.
So moving on, we're nearly done. And this is something that you often hear women talk about is, the birth plan. So I'm just wondering if you have a birth plan and whether you've taken any advice from others, whether that's doctors, midwives, family, or friends, about how best to approach the birth process.
Yes, well, I don't have a birth plan. I have a list of birth preferences.
Mm-hmm.
So if this happens, I would like 1, 2, 3 to happen. If this happens, I would like 4, 5, 6 to happen.
Mm.
I think one thing I've really focused on in my birth plan is obviously saying, all right, like my optimal plan preference is a vaginal birth and a natural birth at that. So that is no cesarean, no induction, no pharmacological pain relief. This is the best outcome for me. But if this happens, this is what I want to happen with it. So I've got one part of it is creating my birth space. So I'm going to take a diffuser, have some clary sage, some lavender, some frankincense, things that I've been already diffusing in the house for my whole pregnancy, really to make it feel homely. Yeah. I'm taking some fairy light so that I can have nice dim lighting. It's not super stark and contrast, like very high, bright, like most hospitals are. I've got written in there minimal interruptions. So whether that is a midwife coming in and speaking to me, the obstetrician coming in and speaking to me, vaginal examinations, all those kind of interruptions, if they're not necessary, then I don't want them. And if you really need to interrupt me, you're going to have to talk to my birth partner before you talk to me if they can't give you an exact answer of what you need. Yeah. Also going through with my midwife and my obstetrician in all of the non-pharmacological pain relief that I can bring and that they provide for me. So I've hired a TENS, which I have heard is amazing. If you're interested in it, obviously do your own research on it. But I have had friends and clients who've used it, and it is about diverting the kind of nerve pathways of pain. So if you've got contractions and you're pressing this TENS machine, it doesn't rewire, but it just redirects that pain signal to your brain. So apparently fantastic. Bo, my partner, has been working on some acupressure points and some hip squeezes. He's got that. We're taking some massage oil. We've got birth combs.
Birth combs.
I think.
What are they?
Birth combs. Okay, so again, another form of kind of redirecting or tricking your brain as such. So you hold a comb. I've got 2 wooden ones in each hand, and you place the teeth down into your kind of crease of your palm, and then you hold the top of it, and each time a contraction comes, you squeeze the combs down into your hand for the length of the contraction. Again, meant to be kind of that redirection of like, oh, my hands are really hurting. My contractions aren't so bad. So again, I've had friends and people, crazy what can work. So I was like, yep, I'm willing to try it. And I think that's it that we're taking with us. I'm sure there's more on there, but then other non-pharmacological pain relief that the hospital provides is like birthing balls. So that's peanut and exercise balls. They have baths, they have showers. They have one other thing that I cannot think of off the top of my head. Oh, they have wireless heart rate monitoring if that's what you want, and then therefore you can remain a lot more active. You're not attached to any machinery. It's either Doppler, so intermittent, or you can have a heart rate on the whole time, and then they don't have to even disturb you to say, all right, I need to check this, I need to check that. That they're getting a constant Bluetooth feedback of the baby's heart rate.
Interesting.
So that is all of the kind of non-pharmacological pain relief that we are kind of going to go down. Then we've gone, all right, if I need a cesarean, this is what I want to happen. I would like my birth playlist. I would like minimal chit chat. I want to have any needles or anything that would generally go into my hand. I would like them on my feet so that my hands can be free to hold the baby once the baby's out. and just the like covering kind of any scenario that if you would like it to go a certain way, then you need to write it down. Obviously, I've not put a lot of time and effort into the whole cesarean thing because I have a belief that I'm not going to have one and a desire to not have one. But just covering those bases and like making sure that, okay, this is my potential worst case scenario. This is what I would like to happen. Then we've gone with what we would like to happen during our contraction stage, during our pushing stage, and then once the baby's born, and what that looks like with their kind of tests for the baby, immunizations for the baby, whether I then have a shot of oxytocin in my leg to help birth the placenta, and what all of that kind of post-birth looks like, and delayed cord clamping. I want to have 3 hours of skin to skin before they take the baby away, and do any kind of testing like length, weight, their hearing tests, etc. As like, the 3 hours postpartum, post birth are just so important to establish a connection with the baby, but also increase your chances of successful breastfeeding, because that's something that I'm super like that I hold that of really high importance is breastfeeding. And just kind of covering all the topics we possibly can. I think a really good resource that I found was on Australian Birth Stories. And they actually sent out a list and a kind of almost like a prompt, like, if I want my birth space to look like XYZ, if I need an induction, I want these kind of things before I want these things. And that has been super helpful to kind of get an idea. And obviously, the more you know, then the more you can write and have your preferences of. So I think they're really good, but I also wouldn't get hung up on planning it, because we all know that nothing ever goes to plan.
No, that's right. You might find you give birth in an hour and you don't have time to set up those fairy lights.
Exactly. So you just never know.
But yeah, no, it's great. That's really, I mean, you can see you've definitely done a lot of reading and research and gotten some good advice. So yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I'll can only just wait and see what happens, but I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Exactly.
Experience for you.
Yes. Well, that's exactly it. Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. Yeah. So actually, speaking of advice and things, I actually did a podcast episode with a postnatal doula a year ago or so. She's based in the UK, and she actually gave a whole lot of information about self-care post-pregnancy. So that might be something you'd like to listen to between now and when you give birth, and maybe share with your family and friends who are going to be supporting you as well, because she talked a lot about how the family and friends can support the mother postnatally as well.
You need that village.
Yeah, and she actually talks about a postnatal plan, and there's these like 4 pillars, I think, of postnatal care. So yeah, maybe that's next on your list, podcast list.
Yeah, to be read.
To be read, to be listened to. Yeah, awesome. I just really appreciate everything you've shared. You really opened up with a whole lot of amazing information for our listeners. And yeah, I think this will be a great resource for other women to listen and watch, as they are pregnant as well. And it's something for you to look back on later down the track.
Yes, I know, how exciting.
Yeah. So just to wrap up, I do like to ask a question of my guests, and that is, what is one key thing? I mean, you've already covered so much this is just who you are, but what's one other key thing perhaps that has helped you most to improve wellness and get more out of life and potentially prepare for this pregnancy and birth?
I think talking about obviously the postpartum, it has to be having a really supportive community around you and people who are like-minded and have similar beliefs, because you're pushing a rock up a hill if you're trying to be as healthy as you can, yet the people around you are not. And that looks, that's so many different things. There's so many ways to be healthy in the scope, but like I said right at the start, that is that physical health and being strong and fit. That's mental health, journaling, mindfulness, meditation, focusing on breath work, what are things that bring you joy.
Mm.
And obviously it goes hand in hand with your emotional health too. But you can only do so much yourself if the other people, what is it? You're the summation of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If
Mm.
they're not doing any of that, then how do you ever expect to be optimal? You can't. It's
Yeah.
that simple. And it's something that I think goes unnoticed even. And it is just so important that if you want to be as healthy and as well as you can be, then so do all the other people that you surround yourself with.
Mm. That's a really interesting point. I guess I'm curious, what would be your advice then to someone who is trying to be healthy and strong, but their husband or their partner is not,
Not.
like you can't just say, all right, well, I don't want you in my life anymore. I mean, you could if
Yeah.
that's, if that was a big thing, but, if that wasn't an option, like, how do we
I
work
think
around that?
finding, finding support groups. So if you're going to Pilates, I'm
Mm.
sure there is another lady or another male at your Pilates class that has very similar beliefs as you, or is even interested in listening to your beliefs so that they can be a better person. But, reaching out to the broader community, and what does that look like? Who knows? Like, it could be that you really love reading and you're really into reading wellness books. Start a book club, find those people. You want to be, better mentally. All right, I'm going to post on Facebook, hey guys, like, I'm doing a mental health challenge. I'm going to walk 3Ks every day. I'm going from this point. If anyone wants to come and meet me here, then let's go. And just, I suppose, allowing yourself to connect with people who you may not necessarily connect with,
Mm.
and not going into that with a preconceived idea. Like, you can have friends from high school that are the exact same people they were in high school, but you could also have friends from high school who have, changed and adapted and are very much on the same path as you. But I think it's really surrounding yourself and trying to find those people
Mm.
that you benefit from being their friend and they benefit from being your friend. And what that looks like is obviously very different for everyone.
Mm.
But I think, yeah, reaching out to your community and just going about it with a bit of like, all right, the worst thing is that it doesn't work out. And
Mm.
that's really not the worst thing in the big scheme of things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah. And I'm glad that we're in this circle together, because I find you very inspiring as well. And yeah, it's a real
The
joy
same goes.
joy to have, your energy in my circle. So thank you. Well,
My
I think
pleasure.
we're going to end it there, unless you have any other things you'd like to share before we wrap up.
Um, the one thing I think would be is that having a baby is not just simple as doing the deed to have a baby. It's definitely everything you can do preconception, and that is obviously getting yourself healthy and well, but learning as much as you can about the things that your body is going to go through, and being able to have an open conversation with your partner or whoever, whatever that looks like to you, but setting, key expectations, boundaries, whatever that is, to go, all right, like, look, I really want, like, we both want to have a family, but what does this look like long term? What does pregnancy support look like for you? What does postpartum look like for us? What does moving forward as a family of 3, what do we want to hold really dear to us? And like, what kind of parent do you want to be? It's
Mm.
like, having a baby is having a baby, but
Yeah.
there's so many other things that you can go down. And it's like, oh, anyone can give birth, but that doesn't make you a fantastic mum or a fantastic dad.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole other podcast.
But it is 100%. But I think that is something that you can already start to
Yeah.
picture
No, excellent.
and
Yeah.
plan and think about while pregnant, because it is
Mm.
just,
Oh,
it's 9
yeah.
months out of an entire human's life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember when I was pregnant, it was like 9 months of just learning. And yeah. And it didn't
Yeah,
stop
absorb
there.
as
You
much as you
obviously,
can.
yeah, once you become a parent, that's a whole nother learning curve, like you just
Mm.
said. So yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Maddie. I wish you all the best for the next few weeks. And yeah, and for the birthing process. It's really been a pleasure having you in the Wellbeing Room today. So thank you so much. And yeah, have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too, Leah.